Hey guys, welcome to SRC Paradise. My name's Steven, and today I'm in the garage, I'm at my workbench, and the weather is awful nasty outside. Cold, rainy, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for spring. Anyway, I thought I'd take advantage of the time just to kind of go through my truck, and I thought I'd show you guys my setup for my Arrma Kraton. But if you're new to the channel, or maybe you just forgot, I thought I'd go through my Arrma Kraton and show you what upgrades I have. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So here's my setup, bird's eye view. We'll start at the front and work our way back. So I'm running RPM A-arms, both front and rear, so RPM A-arms all around. I'm running the new, the V3 4mm Arrma shocks. Now these, as I'd mentioned in a previous episode, these are rear shocks that I'm running up front. It gives me more ground clearance. Now here I'll show you. I don't have, obviously, wheels or tires on this, but you can see right there. See how the A-arms are sort of pointed down right here? As opposed to, a lot of times, on a Kraton, they'll basically be like that, right? They'll almost be horizontal, or parallel to the ground. So I like running mine like this. I like the extra ground clearance it gives me. It gives me a little more plush suspension, a little more suspension travel. All right. I recently broke, well, I didn't break it, but I bent the steering linkage right there. Okay, there's like a plate that connects the steering linkage together, and I bent that. So what I did was I ordered a Voltage Hobbies machined steering brace, or steering plate, if you will. It's kind of hard to see in there. It's silver, just pure raw aluminum right there, and it's a lot wider than the Arrma unit. Voltage Hobbies is almost twice as wide. The whole thing is wide like that. So I'm hoping that that is going to not bend on me. I installed right here. I installed a Voltage Hobbies rear hinge pin mount for the back of the front diff, right? So originally from Arrma, I believe these are, I think they're even plastic, but mine was kind of broken and messed up. So I just went ahead and got a machined, heavy-duty machined Voltage Hobbies rear hinge pin mount for the front. I got a new steering servo, and I'm running it's a Savox 1270 TG. Now it's not waterproof, but I don't plan on really submerging this thing in water. I think I will make it waterproof though myself after the fact. I haven't done that yet. I just wanted to install it and get going. And I gotta tell you, you'll see this in an upcoming video. It performs awesome. It's very good. It is faster, as you would expect, and it just improves the overall feel of the car. I mean, the whole thing just feels more nimble, and I guess responsive, right? I feel more connected to the vehicle, in terms of turning and steering, and just more than that. I mean, I was shocked. I was amazed at how much more connected I felt to the car with a much better steering servo in it. So I highly recommend whatever you guys get at some point in your RC hobby, invest in a really good steering servo. Now, before I had this, I was running a JX, like a China-made, what I would call a cheapy servo, and because it was like $22. And I think the JX servo was a 20 kg servo. I don't remember the ounces of torque or the speed exactly, but it was noticeably slower than this one. This one's pretty quick. Also, to take full advantage of its speed and torque, you have to get a BEC. And that's what I did right here. I got a Castle Creations BEC. It's adjustable, 4.8 volts to 9 volts, 10 amp BEC. Now, it's kind of interesting. For those of you that have one or don't have one, for better or for worse, guys, they sell the BEC on its own, which is like, I don't know, 20 bucks or something. Then you got to get the Castle Link. right? Which is basically this. It's this. It's basically a USB cable, and it's a little. There's a little like board in there. I don't know if you can see that right there, guys. But that allows you to plug the servo into this, and then via the USB, you can plug that into your computer. Then you can go onto the Castle Creations website and download their software. It's very easy. You choose a drop-down menu, and then you can program your BEC for how many volts or amps you want to run on it. Now this Savox servo, I'm running it at 7.4. So I just went into the drop-down menu on the Castle website. I chose 7.4 volts. Boom. Downloaded that profile to the BEC, unplugged it, and then I was good to go. Now, for those of you that haven't installed the BEC, or even if you have, I'll show you how I did it. Basically, I've seen guys completely cut in half their ESC leads and then solder the BEC leads to those, and then kind of like join the whole thing together. I hate that idea for me personally. So all I did was I took an X-Acto knife, or like a shop knife, like this one right here, and then I just cut a little section, like a little 1/4 inch section, maybe a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch section of the exterior wire housing, right? And I just exposed just about a 1/4 inch, cut that off, and exposed the wires. And then I just soldered my, black to black, red to red, or negative to negative, positive to positive. I got a good solder on there, and once I was happy with a nice tight solder, I went ahead and used black electrician's tape, non-conductive black electrician's tape, and I wrapped it very tightly. So I'm super pleased with it. It's it's waterproof. It's awesome. It's not going anywhere, and it's protecting that joint. I did want to use heat shrink, but there's no way to do that unless I cut the things in half, and I wasn't about to do that. So I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Then and I didn't have to do this, but I did put heat shrink, blue heat shrink, just to kind of match the color of the Castle device, of the BEC. I put blue heat shrink on the two leads here and here. And the only reason I did that, it was totally unnecessary, but I did that just so there's not a lot of slack in there, and they weren't like flopping around or anything. And I don't know, I just figured it'd kind of add a little bit more protection to the wires and kind of neaten up my chassis a little bit. So that's how I did that. Then what I did here was I took some Gorilla Tape right here. I just have the white Gorilla Tape. Took some Gorilla Tape, cut a little piece of it to size, basically rolled it so it was like a double-sided tape. I put it on the bottom of the BEC, and then I stuck that on there. And that probably would have been fine, but I went a step further, and I took this. I had these little miniature zip ties. Let me back up a step. So one of the other upgrades I have is the Hot Racing chassis braces. I have an aluminum Hot Racing chassis brace in front, right there. I don't know if you guys can see it very well. It's black. It's got machined kind of like silver edges on it. It says HR for Hot Racing right there. So I'm running one of those in front, and I'm also running the rear Hot Racing rear chassis brace. So the Hot Racing chassis braces, and here I'll show it. It's easier to show it in the rear. See how they have these holes like drilled in them? So same thing on the front. So all I did was I took that miniature zip tie, I ran it through one of the holes, and then cut it right here, just so I don't have an extra piece of plastic flapping around. And that's how I did my setup. And then I ran, of course I just ran the lead or whatever into the receiver box right there. So that's how that is set up. Let's talk about the motor real quick. So as you guys know, I've been super happy with the stock Arrma BLX 2050 kV motor. Lots of speed, lots of torque. It's awesome. But I put this Sen Colossus XT 1450 kV motor. And it is awesome, guys. It is a total beast. I think the can size, I think it's a 4085. So it's definitely much longer than the stock Arrma motor. Not a whole lot. I think it's the same diameter, but a longer can. And basically, and I'm running, I gotta mention, I'm running a 22 tooth pinion. And I'll tell you what, with the monster truck tires I run on this thing, I usually go back and forth between Proline Mashers or Proline Trencher X's. And they're not super heavy tires, but they're big and bulky and wide, and they're a little bit heavier, certainly heavier than stock tires. But I guess my point is, this motor stays cool. No matter what terrain I'm running on, whether it's like tall grass, medium grass, mud, dirt, whatever, this motor stays much cooler than the Arrma motor, which makes sense, lower kV, more efficient. So anyway, I love this motor, 1450 kV Sen Colossus XT motor. Then on top of it, you'll see I'm running a Hobby Wing fan, heat sink and fan combo. These are awesome. I love these. They're like $10 off Amazon, and if you're a Prime member, you get free shipping. I've also noticed that they drop the motor temps about, I don't know, I would say like between 20 and 30 degrees. So they definitely work. In my opinion, regardless of what motor you're running, I run these on all my RCs now. So I love those. Here, I'm running a Hot Racing motor mount, and I'm actually disappointed in it. It doesn't do what I thought it would do. I thought you would be able to slide the motor in and out without having to unscrew this whole mount from the bottom of the chassis and take off all this bracing and stuff to change the motor out. I thought it was like a channel and you could just slide it in and out. But in fact, it doesn't work that way because right here, it's closed, right? This would have to be machined like a hole, like this. There'd have to be a channel machined there for you to be able to slide it, the whole thing in and out. And there's not. So that's kind of a bummer. It really doesn't serve any benefit to me at this point. Maybe I will machine that out myself, and then I could very easily, slide the motor out to change motors. That's why I got it in the first place. But turns out it didn't. It doesn't work that way. So I don't know if that's helpful for anybody out there. I thought I'd mention it. So moving back, as I mentioned earlier, I have the Hot Racing rear chassis brace. This thing has been awesome. Highly recommend it. What else? Oh, kind of obvious. I swapped out my Arrma connectors for EC5 connectors, and the only reason I did that, I love EC5s, and I think the Arrma ones are probably awesome too. But I run EC5s on my Team Redcat B6S, and I've always liked them. So, for me, I have a bunch of batteries running EC5s. It just made sense to put them on there. Plus, they're easy to get on and off, and they stay on very well. So, something I didn't mention. I'm sorry. Let's back up to the front real quick. So, in the front, I'm running. You probably can't see it very well on camera, but I am running Hot Racing machined lower diff cases. I'm running one in the front, and I'm running one in the rear. So in the rear, you can see it a little bit better. So this is the Hot Racing machined lower diff case. Love it. Absolutely fantastic. Very strong. Early on, like the first or second run that I drove my Kraton, I broke the original plastic diff case housing right here. It just almost, this whole piece almost broke right off. It had like a huge crack going around most of it. So I didn't want to deal with that anymore, so that's why I went ahead and got this aluminum case, and it's been awesome ever since. Highly recommend these for anyone that is a tough basher. I haven't run the V3 cases yet, and I know that Arrma redesigned them, and they're like reinforced here and maybe here, I think. So I don't know. I assume those are much stronger than the V2s and the V1s, but anyone that doesn't have those new cases, or even if you do, I love these Hot Racing machined aluminum diff cases. They've been great. I'm also running a Voltage Hobbies rear front hinge pin mount and a Voltage Hobbies rear hinge pin mount, rear hinge pin mount. Now, I think these are super valuable and useful upgrades for a couple of reasons. One, the original Arrma one, it's a plastic housing that looks thick like that, but inside it's actually just a very thin piece of like cast metal, right? And so it's pretty fragile. Like you can end up bending those very easily, and that's what I did. I bent mine. And the problem with that is when you bend it on like a really bad landing or something, what can happen is these pins, right? They can instead of being like they should, they can tweak and they can come out this way or whatever, and you can end up damaging or breaking A-arms. So speaking of A-arms, as I said earlier, I'm running the RPM A-arms front and back. And in fact, that's what happened to me. Several videos back, I was bashing at a construction site, had a bad landing on one wheel, and it did a couple things. I think I broke an A-arm, and it bent the hinge pin mount, and it popped out the front. I think it popped out the rear, and it wasn't good. So I didn't want to go through all that again. So I went ahead and upgraded to the Voltage Hobbies heavy-duty machined aluminum hinge pin mounts, and they've been awesome. All right, I've got, talking about the shocks, these are V2 Kraton shocks, rear shocks. I am running Techno yellow springs. That was an upgrade from the previous owner, and they've been pretty awesome. I can't complain. Shocks have been good so far. Moving on to the shock tower. It's dirty, but this is a Voltage Hobbies heavy-duty machined aluminum rear shock tower. I was trying to show you where it says Voltage Hobbies on there, but it is. You just have to trust me. I'm running a T-Bone Racing rear basher bumper. That's been a great upgrade. I'm running the Outcast wheelie bar on the stock Arrma Kraton wing mounts. I'm running the stock wing. I will say, recently I broke this rear chassis stay right here. Model number AR310427. It's plastic, and you can see right there, I cracked it in half. So I'm actually waiting on a GKA machined aluminum unit that should show up in the next probably 2 weeks. Usually I run the RPM curved front bumper. This thing has been awesome. And lastly, I will show you, I've kind of disassembled it right now, but this is a custom chassis guard that I made out of some like steel, thin steel or tin, whatever. I just got that at Home Depot. I cut it to size. It's not perfect, but man, this thing is awesome. This thing is awesome. I mean, just look at it. You can see all the beating and punishment it's taken. Man, absolutely love this. If you guys want a cool project to do, highly recommend it. I think you'll really appreciate the extra safety it provides your chassis. And then, of course, this would just go on there, and that protects the front of the chassis right here, and the T-bone basher bumper comes back all the way here and protects that. Alright guys, that'll do it. Hope you enjoyed this overview of my highly modified V2 Kraton. Let me know what you think. Throw your comments down in the chat, and let me know what you guys have done to your Kratons. Hope to see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Cheers.